Hey guys, it's Trisha. I know it's been a while since we had a podcast, but we are definitely back and have a lot to share with you today. I'm Trisha. Welcome to Journey Through the Generations. I know it's been a while since we've been here. We've had a lot going on. The last time you heard us, we were at RootsTech back in March of this year. And today, I just want to catch you up on some things that we've been doing since then. But I want to start by saying that we did start a small business late last year. And if you have ever started a small business, then you know the work that goes into it, your time, your energy. That's a lot of the reason why we haven't been posting podcasts lately. And that's also the reason why you only hear my voice. Philip isn't able to record with me right now, but I wanted to make sure I got a podcast out late this summer. So here we are. So guys, bear with me. It's been a long time since I did a podcast by myself. I know this probably won't be as funny as they are with Philip alongside of me, but I promise I'll do my best. So we're going to start with the last time you heard us. We were at RootsTech and we had the best time. We were able to catch up with our RootsTech cousins. We attended some great sessions. I learned a lot. I was able to spend some time at the Family Search Library. This year, I think I spent more time at the Family Search Library researching. I have in the past conferences, and that was really nice because I hadn't really done any research most of last year. So it was catch-up time for me. I was also able to continue my quest on digitizing my family records and photos and documents. While I was there, I was able to get a good chunk done. So I'm very happy with the progress of the Maze Cummings digital archive that's coming along. And I could talk about RootsTech literally all day. Just know that we had a great time. Everybody that we saw, we enjoyed. The sessions were wonderful. The weather was actually really good this year, maybe because it was in March and not February. But we had a really good time, and we can't wait until RootsTech 2026, which actually they already have announced the date. It's going to be March 5th through the 7th of 2026. It is always held in Salt Lake City in Utah at the Salt Palace. We, as of right now, have plans on attending in person. So if you want more information about it, or if you've been to RootsTech in the past and you have a Family Search account, you can always go to rootstech.org, sign in, and you'll have access to any of the classes and sessions and keynote speakers from past conferences as well. RootsTech really is genealogy 365. So make sure you go and check that out. Also at RootsTech, one of my main goals was I have this picture of my 2 times great-grandfather, and it was taken in the 1880s. It is old, it has water damage, it has a crack down the middle of his face. You can tell somebody tried to put maybe some Scotch tape on it, and through the years it has peeled off and had, of course, peeled off some of the picture itself. So I have had this picture for, 5 or 6 years. I found it in a box when I was going through some pictures one year, and I've just held on to it, not knowing when I was going to be able to get it repaired or anything like that. But I remember last year at RootsTech, there was a few companies in the expo hall that did restoration of photos. And so this year, when I packed all my stuff, I wanted to make sure that I took that picture with me in case I was able to find a company that would be able to restore this photo from the 1880s. I walked around the expo hall and I found a restoration company called Larson Digital, and I spoke with one of their representatives at their table. Her name was Krista, and I explained the picture, the water damage, how old it was and everything, and she said that if I had the picture, if she was able to see the picture, she would know if that was something that they would be able to do. And I said, well, it's just lucky enough that I have it right here in my backpack. So I filled out the paperwork, I paid the deposit, I gave her the picture, and that was that. And I told her, I said, okay, Krista, this is from the 1880s. This is important. I'm leaving this in your hands. And she was like, no, we do this all the time. It's going to be fine. And this company was actually based in Utah. So they were actually able to start the restoration process that following Monday after RootsTech. So about 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from the representative that was working on my photo, and And they said that they were able to restore it and it would take another couple of days. And I just needed to pay what was left on my balance after the deposit. And they would send me a link with the digital copy of the picture. Then in a couple of days, I got this email. And when I clicked on the link, when I tell you I was amazed, this photo, I mean, it looked brand new. I can actually see his features. I can see his cheeks. I can see his nose and his beard. And you would never know that there was water damage or there was a piece of tape that somebody peeled off. It looked simply wonderful. And I'm so happy that I was able to get that done. And it only took maybe about 3 weeks. I'm just amazed. I just stare at it still today. I'm going to have Philip, if I remember, maybe put a link to the before and after so you guys can see it down in the description box. You'll be simply amazed. When I talk about RootsTech all the time and I talk about all the things that you can do there, it really is more than just family history. It really is anything and everything you can think of that has to do with family history, photos, research. Anything you can think of is possible at RootsTech. Okay, that takes me to April. I attended a webinar that was sponsored by Legacy Family Tree and My Heritage. It was a 24-hour genealogy webinar. And basically, it's just what it sounds like. So they had different sessions. They were 45 minutes to an hour each. And I just went online and registered for it. And then the next week, I got a link to the webinar. Now, I know you're thinking 24 hours. How were you able to watch all of these sessions? Well, they were recorded. And I had access to the recordings for 2 weeks after the webinar because, let's face it, I have to go to sleep. I need my rest. And I have a full-time job. So there's no way I could stay up even for genealogy for 24 hours. Luckily, I was able to have access to it for 2 weeks after, and I could catch up on any of the sessions that I missed during the day while I was at work or at night when I was asleep. Some of the sessions were about AI research, DNA, methodology, research strategies. It was your typical genealogy subjects. And some of the best and brightest in genealogy were the presenters like Dr. Shelley Murphy, Diane Elders, and Robin Smith. This was an excellent webinar, again, because I had access to the recordings, so I could do it on my own pace within the next 2 weeks. So I highly suggest that you follow My Heritage and or Legacy Family Tree on their social media, and that way you'll be in the know of when the next 24-hour webinar is and you don't miss it. So in May, I had the wonderful opportunity to share some of our family history with my oldest nephew, Alan. He currently lives in DC, and he, I don't know, was out driving. He was coming from somewhere one evening, and he noticed that when he entered the county sign said entering Fauquier County, Virginia. And he said when he saw that sign, he remembered a blog post that I had written about our 3 times great-grandfather, Robert Hatchett. And he wondered if that was the same county that I had written about. So when he got home, he called me and we talked about it, and he asked, and I said, yes, that is actually the same county. That's where he was born, and that's where he lived while he was enslaved before he was moved to Limestone County, Alabama with his enslaver. He asked me if I knew anything about the plantation that they lived on when they were in Virginia, and I said no. I said I really haven't researched much of his life in Virginia. I said, but give me a couple days. I'll see what I can find out. So the next morning, I got up, went to my trusty friend Google, and I Googled Martin Pickett and Steptoe Pickett, Fauquier, Virginia, 1790s. And that was what I put in the search engine. And I used those 2 names because those are the 2 names that owned my family during the 1700s. The very first result from that search was the Virginia Historical Land Registry, and it was an application for a specific piece of property in Virginia. So when I clicked on it, I saw that it was an application for somebody trying to add a house to the Virginia Historical Registry. I reviewed that application, and by page 4 or 5, I saw that it was documented that the first owner of this house was Martin Pickett, and he owned 298 acres of land called Paradise plantation. Now, Martin Pickett is the grandfather of the slave owner of Robert Hatchett when he was in Arkansas. So I knew this was the right house. The application also had the address of the house so I could be able to send that to my nephew. And I did. I called him and I said, this is the address that I found on Google. He was so excited. He wanted to go that very weekend, which happened to be within 2 days. So that Sunday, a couple of days later, Alan called and he said that he was about 5 minutes from the house and he wanted me to be on the phone with him as he drove up to the house. And he put me on FaceTime so I could see the house as he turned the corner. And as soon as he turned the corner and I saw the house, because the house was also, there was a picture on the internet with the application. So I knew what the house looked like. He turned the corner and I said, Alan, that's it. And he drove up and he parked and he got out and he just walked in front of the house and he took pictures of the house. There were some big trees in the yard. The only thing that I could think of was, this is the land that my 3 times great-grandfather lived when he was enslaved in Virginia in the 1790s and early 1800s. And my nephew, 6 generations later, is walking on this same land in 2025. And I got chills. I get chills thinking about it now. It's times like that that I remember and I remind myself of why I do this research. And, you know, there's times when I think nobody's listening to me tell these stories because I tell the same stories over and over again about our ancestors. And I think nobody's listening to my podcast. And then this happens and I'm able to share this moment with the next generation of our family. And he is just as excited about this as I am. Alan will never know what that moment meant to me, and it only made it better that I was able to share it with him. So that brings us to June, and of course, Juneteenth is in June, and I was so honored to be able to have a table at our local Juneteenth celebration. Now, Juneteenth, I know, is new to a lot of people now that it is a federal holiday. My family and every community that I've ever lived in has always celebrated Juneteenth from when I was little. I remember it. So I've always been a part of the celebration. I've always known what Juneteenth is and what it means. But for me, this year it was different because I was an active participant in honoring our ancestors. And I wanted to do the best that I could because this was my first time and I wanted to make sure everything was right. So on one half of the table, I had my personal family history. I had my family tree out. I had a couple of photos. I had my 3 times great-grandfather, Robert Hatchett's Emancipation Papers or Freedom Papers that was published in the newspaper. I had that out. I had a little binder with a few of my funeral programs because, gotta have funeral programs. So I had a little bit of my own personal history. And then on the other side of the table, I wanted to make sure anybody who wanted to start their family history would be able to. So I had handouts. I had blank family trees that they could start filling out. I had flyers with resources on different websites and local libraries and places that they could do their research. I basically had everything that anybody would need to get started. Of course, it was hot. It's in June and we're in Arkansas. So in the beginning, there was, not a lot of people coming by. But as the afternoon went on, people started coming by and I was able to talk to people. Some people had already started their research and maybe they just hadn't, picked it back up. Some people were very interested in starting and didn't know where to start. And then there were people who said, oh, I know I have people in my family who has done this research before. So I had a lot of different people in different aspects of family history stop by. And I was just so excited that I was actually able to answer people's questions. I was able to assist them in starting or restarting their research. I gave them some good ideas on how they could research their family here in our local community because we have some really good resources as libraries here in Northwest Arkansas. This Juneteenth was very special to me. I was able to honor our ancestors, tell the story of my own family and our history, and also I heard a lot of stories from the people who stopped by the booth who had already done research or wanted to start researching. They already knew stories of their ancestors. And that's really what Juneteenth is about, honoring our ancestors and telling their stories. Although I do that every day, it's especially important on Juneteenth. So I was so excited to be able to do it, and it seemed our little table was very well received, and I just can't wait to do it again next year. Me and my family have basically spent most of July on vacation, enjoying each other, making memories, and that's really what we've done this month. One of the things that we are looking forward to in the future is the AUX conference. And if you've heard us talk about AUX, it is near and dear to our heart. It's the Afro-American History and Genealogical Society, and they are holding their national conference October 9th through the 11th. Now, this is the first in-person conference since 2019. It's been over 5 years since we've had a conference. So that tells you how big it's going to be and how many people have been waiting for this conference. So registration is open. So you can go to augs.com, AAHGS.com, and you can register for the conference. Again, it's October 9th through the 11th. And as of right now, Philip and I will be there. So if you're there, please stop us and say hello. We would love to see you. And we are super excited about the in-person conference. It's going to be so good. We haven't been together in so long. I can already tell how wonderful it's going to be. Well, that's pretty much everything that we've been up to in the last few months. Thank you for your patience with us getting back into the groove of recording again. Thank you for your patience with me doing this solo this time around. Getting back to recording and being behind the mic reminds me how much I love doing this podcast, and it just keeps me going and makes me want to do my own research to share with you all. So I just want to leave you with, remember, whether you are a beginning family historian or you've been doing it for years, your story matters, and nobody can tell your story like you can. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. We're on Instagram, YouTube. I have my blog. So make sure you check out some of the stuff I've been writing the last couple of months. Until next time, thanks, guys.